Good afternoon. This is Ed Pozzuoli, CEO of Tripp Scott, and thank you for joining us for another series in our Politics and Sunshine. And today we have the Mayor of Fort Lauderdale, our friend Dean Trantalis. Dean, welcome.
Hi. Well, good morning, Ed. Thank you for having me.
Well, Mayor, it's been 5 years.
5 years?
5 years you've been
Wow.
Mayor, and before that you were sitting on the commission.
Right.
And so talk about some of what you think the city's accomplished over the last year. Give a little recap for us.
With every city, there are challenges, and one of the biggest challenges, of course, is responding to climate change. The city of Fort Lauderdale continues to find itself trying to push back the effects of climate change. We've been spending a significant amount of money on raising our seawalls, but more importantly, trying to deal with stormwater mitigation. The city of Fort Lauderdale experienced an unbelievable rainstorm a year ago, and it was a 1,000-year rainstorm. What does that mean? That means that 26 inches of rain fell in 5 hours, which was never ever experienced by any city anywhere in the country. So a lot of these communities were never built with proper storm systems, storm drain systems. None of them had, sewers or any kind of piping to take away the rainwater when it enters the area. So the city's been trying to play catch up. So we spent over $200 million in the last couple of years. We've continued to spend more and more trying to get these cities hardened up against these storm systems that do come here. They're going to come here again. Hurricanes, we've been blessed not having a hurricane in the last decade or so. So the city will continue to move forward. We call it Fortify Lauderdale, and we're going to move forward and try to harden our systems, going from one neighborhood to another. We have identified 8 neighborhoods that are in immediate need, and after that, there will be another 15. So over the next 10 years, we'll have completely redone that many neighborhoods, over 24 neighborhoods in our city.
And that'll help mitigate the impacts of the storms.
Yes. So, for example, when a storm comes through, the state-of-the-art technology says the most you can drain off is between 5 and 7 inches per day. 24-hour period, the maximum. Most of the time it's just 3 and 5 inches. We had 25 inches, 26 inches in a few hours. So no matter what we had in the ground, we'd never been able to withstand the impact. But knowing that the average storm is still going to be something that we can deal with, that's what we're moving towards. So I feel bad for still many of the homeowners that have still not yet recovered. The city is doing its best to try to work with them. And we'll continue to push back against these storm systems and climate change and the impacts that these systems will have on our city.
So we're upgrading storm impacts
Yes.
on our neighborhoods, particularly homeowners, and now that we have a greater number of people living in Fort Lauderdale, it's such
Yes.
a great place to live. But talk a little bit more about the future plans around transportation, and because we now have a real urban core of folks in Fort Lauderdale now, walking pretty much a lot, but utilizing alternative means of transportation.
So we've identified the 2 sources of traffic in Fort Lauderdale. First of all, there's local traffic, people getting to and from their homes, to grocery stores and so forth. But as we continue to build, and we build the concentration of population, we call that the critical mass, people start to get out of their cars and walk to work and walk to the store. And that reduces the amount of vehicular traffic that's in our downtown. Of course, we'll have commuter traffic every day that comes from the western suburbs. But now the county is talking about working with FDOT and the national government to build a commuter rail service between Miami and West Palm Beach. I'm not sure who's going to take that, but there are projections that there's a certain amount of ridership that will justify building such a system. With that in mind, going through Fort Lauderdale has its challenges. For example, it has to go over the New River.
Right.
The New River happens to be the home of a multi-billion-dollar marine industry upriver, and we don't want to frustrate that economy, which is integral to who we are here, right?
Yeah.
So
It's part of the fabric of life here.
It is. And so it supplies billions of dollars in the economy, thousands of jobs throughout the area. So we're doing our best to see what we can do. Now, the county said, well, let's just build a bridge over the river to accommodate like somewhere up to 80 to 100 new trains a day, because the commuter rail service will add that many new trains on top of the 14 freight, on top of the 30 to 35 Brightline trains that currently operate. It's a lot of trains. And so the marine industry is saying, well, you have to do something. We can't rely on that existing bridge. So the county and the Florida Department of Transportation initially came up with an idea of building a bridge. But when you look at what a bridge would do to our city, a 2-mile long bridge right through the middle of our redevelopment area, it would completely devastate our downtown. So we've been working with folks that are in the industry of building.
So for people who are not used to downtown, let me stop you.
Yes.
Identify where the bridge, the train bridge is, so people have a context.
Okay, so it's at the New River. So it'd go a mile north and a mile south. And what does that mean? It would go up to Sunrise Boulevard all the way far.
We're talking just west of Andrews.
Just west of Andrews, right? And where the eastern tracks are currently located. And we are discovering that, I mean, the whole idea of having commuter rail is to improve economic development, right? Well, we already have economic development. This would destroy our economic development, because who wants to live near a train? Who wants to live under a bridge? Who wants to sit and listen to the rattle of the tracks every time a train goes by? So let's learn from the experiences, the bad experiences that other cities around the country and around the world have had over the last century when they build elevated train tracks, and let's take advantage of new technologies to build a tunnel. Now, we've spoken with a lot of companies. BDO, a big international firm, has come to our city, and they've estimated that we could do a tunnel for almost the same price as a bridge. In fact, probably less, because there's no eminent domain. We can build the tunnel right under the existing tracks. The bridge, on the other hand, is going to be required to be built off the tracks as much as 60 feet to the east and 60 feet to the west. Well, if you go out there today and look at what 60 feet is, you're plowing down existing development sites, existing as well as planned. So the county is going to end up having to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to buy up all these projects, which is an impossibility, nor is it a necessity. We have an opportunity here to just do the right thing, build a tunnel, and it can be done within 4 years. 42 months they project from beginning to end of construction to be able to put this tunnel in. And we've gone down to Miami. The folks down in Miami gave us a few lessons on maintenance costs and feasibility and all that. It was a wonderful education. Lamar Fisher came with me with the deputy
You're talking about the tunnel by the port of Miami.
Yes, which they built 10 years ago. That port tunnel is 44 feet wide, 2 of them, and it goes 120 feet deep. Ours would be half that size and half as deep. And their construction cost was $650 million. So ours would be about $888 million, all in, with 30% contingencies figured into that price. So we have an opportunity here to do the right thing. I guess we have to wait for the county to figure out how their bridge approach is really going to be not a feasible approach, and then maybe we can get back to the table and talk this thing through together.
So let me step back a little bit. What you're saying, though, is that the bridge, a potential new development of a bridge, would cost about the same as the tunnel. That's what you're suggesting?
The capital cost, yes. But then there's eminent domain costs.
Well, I consider that to be entire project cost.
Yes, that's another $500 to $800 million. You have to buy up these people's projects.
And so you don't think that you would have to do some of that with the tunnel?
At all. It all goes underneath the existing train tracks, and there's the only time that it has to go onto private property is the city's property, and then a sliver of one of the developers' properties who we've already spoken to, and they have no problem in taking off a slice of their property.
So what you're saying is the money that we might otherwise save, assuming you believe some of the bridge estimates,
right,
on building a bridge versus a tunnel, would be more than made up in the eminent domain costs of having to take in the entrance and the exits of the bridge.
Absolutely. Furthermore, we've been speaking with U.S. Department of Transportation really since the Trump administration. And so we've made connections. We have discussions on what programs would be available to us for funding at the federal level, and they're waiting for us to get our act together as a local community and apply for these funds.
And so what does that mean, getting your act together? What does that mean as a local community? What do you have to do?
It means that the county and the city have to agree on the New River crossing. And as far as Fort Lauderdale is concerned, the only option is a tunnel. We can never accept a bridge to the middle of our city. It would completely devastate our downtown. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't really think that the benefits of commuter rail justify the impact that it would have on our city. And that's the issue here.
Let's talk politics now. The reality of having the city and the county agree on an approach. How close are we to having that agreement?
Well, I think we have to wait for some of these studies to be concluded. Environmental, social, as well as capital cost estimates. The county is now going through a program where they're looking to price out what it would cost for them to build the bridge, and then they have hired an appraiser to estimate what the eminent domain costs would be. So we're waiting for that to happen, and we kind of have a little heads up though as to what the result will be, and that's why I'm saying that the cost approach from the bridge is going to be much more than it would be for the tunnel.
I mean, you and I both experienced the difference of opinion around where the federal courthouse should be put.
Yes.
And that took 2 decades to get done. I mean, to be fair.
Well, yes, and it's sad that it takes that long, but even in Miami, the tunnel took 30 years. So.
That's a good point. That's true. Well, we had to demand, right?
But I will say this, as long as I'm there, as God is my witness, there will never be a bridge to the middle of the city of Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. I gotcha. What do you think commuter rail would actually bring to the city of Fort Lauderdale, though, in the end? Assuming we're able to resolve this piece,
right.
Assuming they put a tunnel
What would commuter rail do?
Yeah.
Well, it's a good question, because if I have to go to Hollywood or to Hallandale, I'm not taking a train.
Right.
I'm just going to hop in my car because that's my habit, right? So we're looking at future generations, future inhabitants that are going to start to locate themselves at or near the train stations. Those future populations will ultimately design their lifestyle for which the commuter rail would be designed. But other than that, I don't see South Floridians taking this commuter rail. They take Brightline, which is great because they're going longer distances.
Right.
They'll take it from Fort Lauderdale to Miami. They'll take it from here to West Palm or to Orlando, and they've taken it to Orlando.
Well, but the people now are taking it to Boca and Aventura.
Exactly, but not at the level that's going to be necessary to justify the expense of this rail system.
But the question I have for you is, it's really the use of a commuter rail is really not directed at people like you and I who are used to jumping in our cars over years, right, and going anywhere with our cars. It's for folks who are moving into, like, right off Las Olas Boulevard, and they don't have a car.
Well, that's the point.
Right.
Those people choose not to have a car,
right.
So they'll style their lifestyle in such a way that they'll be close to the train station, and they will rely on the train to get to it. But keep in mind also, it's not cheap.
Right.
So it's not like it's going to be for the working class, so to speak, to take commuter rail. The cost of taking Brightline or any of these commuter rail systems is going to be somewhat prohibitive to a lot of people. Now, there are companies in Miami that pay for their employees to commute on Brightline who live in Fort Lauderdale. A number of cruise ship companies, they're located in Miami, but their folks don't want to live there. So they live in Fort Lauderdale, they prefer the quality of life, and they've chosen to live here, and their company pays the Brightline fare. It's probably a reduced fare, but it's still a fare that they absorb, and they consider that part of the cost of employment. But for most people, if you go on the streets, and most people, if they want to go to Hollywood, are they going to take a Brightline? No, because Brightline doesn't stop there. Are they going to take a commuter rail? If once this system is set up, are they going to not just hop in their car? It's only 20 minutes. By the time I get to the Brightline station, park my car, pay to park there, and then wait for the train to show up, and then go to the Hollywood station, you're talking 45 minutes to an hour when you can just hop into your car.
We talked about improving infrastructure, stormwater,
yes.
As well as we've now talked about the commuter rail piece and how it relates to the tunnel and/or bridge, right? However that focuses. But what other things would you like to see in the next 5 years the city get accomplished?
So, as a result of that rainstorm we had last year, the city hall has now been incapacitated. So we're now working. We've been doing a lot of neighborhood outreach, kind of get a feel for what the community thinks that we should do to move forward with the new city hall. So that will be on our agenda. As you know, we authorized a new water treatment plant, so we'd like to see that completed. Tomorrow we're going to do the official grand announcement for the new motion picture studio that's going to move itself here in Fort Lauderdale. So that I'm looking forward to seeing that progress.
Yeah.
It is going to be a big deal. So we have a lot of irons in the fire. So things will continue to evolve, and we'll see more and more of these opportunities, job opportunities, career opportunities, opportunities for families to get started here. I mean, I'm so amazed how many baby carriages I see in Flagler Village.
Yeah.
I mean, more than people walking their dogs. So it's we never thought. I mean, when we were doing calculations for school capacity, everyone diminished the amount of population that would be found in Flagler Village, because they said no one with a kid is going to move in Flagler Village. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
It's happening. So so these are the kinds of great things that are happening in our city. We're creating a wonderful urban experience that many cities are really not enjoying as much as we are. So we have to keep it that way. Keep it safe, keep it clean, and keep it enjoyable. And those are the priorities that, those are the ongoing things. Not sexy, but, we had a great spring break this year. Everybody thought that everyone thought that the masses from Miami that were going to be kicked out of there were going to rush up to here. And I told everybody it's not going to happen. It's a different crowd than what we get here. And that was the result. We just had
somebody who walks the beach every morning. I will say Fort Lauderdale Police did a great job, and the city was prepared. The streets and the sidewalk was cleaned every day, and I got to tell you, it was as seamless as possible. So kudos to you and your team.
The management team
was really good. Really well.
Job, yeah. We even got 100 applications for police positions.
I saw that. I saw that video. It was on the Daily Show. I saw a little clip. It was hilarious, but it was very funny. But why not, right? Why not? A lot of things that the city does, I think people realize that they sometimes forget. With all the big issues going on in the world, sometimes we forget that the actual lifestyle issues are really impacted by local government. So, Dean, I want to thank you for your leadership as mayor, and look forward to you driving some of these issues to
looking forward to my next term, and hopefully we'll get a lot of these things accomplished. Looking forward to
your
it.
next term, huh?
Yes,
Good
sir.
for you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. I appreciate it.
Thank you.